I don't even contact them. I don't even hang out with them if I am not feeling social, because I feel like I'm forcing myself, and then I get upset later. But they all understand. It's like there's no way that I could just be social every day.
Right. I love social media for that, Kate. Like having the option to just send someone a reel and let them know that you're thinking of them. I love that.
Yeah, absolutely. Normalize not calling my phone all the time. Normalize it. I have a story about green beans. I don't know why I want to tell
Uh,
this story. I hate green beans. They're so ill. Just eat one of these green beans and then you can get up. Still didn't do it. Fell asleep at the table.
Mask. I'm figuring out the fabrics. I really like polyester and spandex, like 88% polyester and 12% spandex.
That is very specific. Can you say that one more time? I'm about to write it down. I will say that the memory thing is an issue for me, but I also have ADHD, so it could be the autism or the ADHD fighting each other. And now I have CRS, so I can't remember shit. You know what I'm saying? So, good morning, good afternoon, good evening, whatever time it is where y'all are. Welcome to another episode of my podcast, Just Shay and Friends. Go ahead and hit that like and subscribe button if you like this content, please. And hit that notification bell so you get notified of every single video that I post. Today's guest, of course, is my friend Lex.
Hi, I'm back.
Lex is back. Y'all have something y'all want to talk about, make sure y'all put it in comments. So, like I said, it's the same article from last time, and it's from UCLA Health. Understanding undiagnosed autism in females. Scroll down, and they start talking about signs of autism in female adults. So, last time when we were talking about this, we were saying the traits and then saying if that's something that we resonate with, like if that's something that happens with us. So Lex and I, obviously two totally different people, but we both have autism, and you're just going to see like the differences, and some of it might be the same, some of it might be different. I actually have never had these conversations with you, so I don't know. We're also going to talk about how these traits present in us while unmasked, or before, while you're masked, and after
Yeah.
the process of being unmasked. Number one, social difficulties. I'm going to start childhood. For me, I felt very much awkward. I felt like I was the loner because I didn't really fit in with the other kids. So I was just mostly by myself. There were a few spatterings during like high school and a little bit on where there was a random extrovert that befriended me. But other than that, I didn't really have many friends. Adulthood, so before masked and I didn't really even know that I had autism, it kind of the same as childhood, but I'm more outgoing because I know that's what attracts the friends. If they were very talkative, I was also very talkative. If they, were very silly, I was also very silly. If they were quiet, I was quiet. And that usually is what worked for me, kind of just being a social chameleon, unmask me. So I
Right.
don't just go around them because if I feel like my really, really, really social friends, they just want to talk, of course I'm going to talk with them. But I don't even contact them. I don't even hang out with them if I am not feeling social, because I feel like I'm forcing myself, and then I get upset later.
Right.
So that's today. So I do talk to my friends a lot less than I used to, but they all understand. It's like there's no way that I could just be social every day. They understand if I don't hit them up every day.
Yeah.
That means that day I don't feel like being social. Or I'll just do something simple like text them, check in with them. I might not call, and I might not come over.
Right. I love social media for that because I feel like that just provides like another avenue of communication that for me is like really compatible with the ways that I communicate, like having the option to just send someone a reel and let them know that you're thinking of them. I love that.
Yeah, absolutely. Normalize not calling my phone all the time. Normalize it. because if it rang and I feel like I gotta pick it up, and
Yeah.
it's never an emergency.
Yeah.
And it's never an emergency. And then I'm like, well, now I'm forced to be social.
Yeah.
Now I'm forced. So they're, hey, what you doing?
So for childhood, I struggle to remember like super, super young childhood. And I'm really glad that I was able to have these conversations with my mom because it's dawned on me that now there's literally nobody I can refer back to for additional information about my childhood. So mirroring and mimicking, really just like, being a chameleon, like you said, like that started when I was younger, and the people pleasing. And then as I went through trauma, like in my preteen and teen years, I got really extreme with the people pleasing to the point where it's like I felt unsafe to not please whoever I was in front of, which actually made me like a really bad friend and person because it's like I didn't have a consistent sense of self. I just said and did whatever was going to please whoever I was in front of. And so that made me like, betray people and not be the best person. And then like I shared a bit in the last episode we did, when I reached my teenage years, I started to really notice that I did not fit in with the other girls. And so I started turning to dating to mask. So that way I could just, immerse myself in a relationship and take up their interests and be whatever they wanted me to be. And then into adulthood, when I was still masking the social and communication difficulties, like everything became unsustainable. So that's when I started turning to like the drugs and alcohol to try to make myself more outgoing and more talkative and overextend myself. Um, and now unmasked, I find that my social battery, like my baseline, is just very low. And I still, when I become dysregulated, I shut down, and it's very noticeable. Like the shift in my demeanor is so noticeable. And so I end up isolating and avoiding social situations when I anticipate that's going to happen because I start to get really in my head about it. Like even with like people I'm safe and comfortable with, it's like I know that I'm gonna like the difference is gonna be perceived and they're gonna notice. And I don't know, it's really hard to cope with. And I also find I'm not able to force myself to like really mask anymore. So people are not getting eye contact from me. I have a lot of verbal shutdowns where I just like straight up lose access to my speech and my ability to communicate, and that's really hard to deal with. So again, I avoid social situations.
Yeah, I feel all that, girl. I feel all that. The whole thing you said about being in a relationship so that you didn't have to actually, so to speak, be yourself.
Hmm.
Honestly, girl, I think we've all done that. I think it crippled me or my autism in a way, or it set me back because it was another way I was able to fly under the radar and not get
Hmm.
diagnosed because it was so easy to mask because
Yeah.
I'm just doing whatever you want me to do, I'm doing it. And that's what you're supposed to do in a relationship anyway, right?
Yep.
Maybe, maybe not. But my point is, it was so easy to just mask in, and especially like the food thing. I just talked about that in another video. That was another reason why I was able to fly under the radar because I have all these issues with food, eating, and not being able to feel my sensation when I'm supposed to be hungry, not being able to feel that. It was like when it started happening, I was like, why all of a sudden it's not something that just starts, I don't think. So I was like, why all of a sudden? Think about it. When you were in a relationship, who was feeding you?
Yeah.
Exactly, your girlfriend was feeding you. So that was also enabling me to just fly under the radar. And now that all of that stuff is gone, I'm like, oh, what am I supposed to do? Every single day, what am I supposed to do?
It's so crazy realizing like all the things that make you slide under the radar. And I have those aha moments all the time now. It's like so crazy. Like now in retrospect, all of these difficulties are so apparent to me. And I'm just like, how the hell was this missed? But it's such a common experience for like diagnosed women. Mhm.
The second trait, sensory sensitivity. I wrote down clothes and food was my worst enemy as a child. Clothes and food, yeah. I I can imagine, I don't really remember specifics, but I can imagine I gave my mom a really hard time about the clothes thing because of the fact that we were a very religious family. So certain clothes I was not allowed to wear, or women were not allowed to wear certain clothes like pants, shorts, short pants, my
Mm.
dad liked to call them. So we can only wear dresses and long skirts for a time. And it wasn't even the fact that it was just a skirt or a dress. So I have never even processed why I don't like skirts or dresses, but the fabric of some materials, as you know, it if I put it on my body, it's very much not just itchy. It's like pins sticking me,
Mhm.
or it feels like very scratchy, like something crawling.
Yeah.
That kind of stuff. I'm not gonna go on because I'm starting to itch now, even though I got a good shirt on. But that was me as a kid. So I had a hard time with all the stuff, all the rules about the clothes that I had to wear, etc. Okay. And as far as food, typical, black family, we ate the typical stuff. Okay. Soul food. I mostly like soul food, but it's the vegetables, the mashed potatoes, it's the mushy stuff. The mushy
Oh
stuff.
yeah.
Yeah, I don't like it. I don't like the mushy stuff. And I have a story about green beans. I don't know why I want to tell
Uh,
this story. I hate green beans. They're so ill. They're so ill. And even if you cook them just a little bit so you can get the crunch, inside it's still mushy. There was a time that my mom cooked some food, and I guess she was tired of me not eating my food. So every night I refused it. I would like take a couple of bites and then I would refuse to eat it. Half the time I would have to sit there until everybody was done. But this time, when everybody was done, I was about to get up and she was like, "No, eat your food." And I was like, "Oh." So I
oh my
I
God.
ended up having to sit there all the way until nighttime. And then she convinced me, just eat one of these green beans and then you can get up. Still didn't do it. Fell asleep at the table. Fell asleep at the table. Okay, I guess I'm gonna go ahead and, because no, I can't. It never went down either. This one green bean, it never went down.
Damn.
Yeah, I can imagine how irritated my mom was. Like, girl, I'm trying to do this for you. Just eat it. As an adult, sensory sensitivity is mostly lights. Clothes is still hard for me, but I have more control of what I wear now, so it's not as hard.
So when I was younger, I don't remember that much about like more specific sensory sensitivities. I know that with the food, I was terrible as a kid. There were very few things I would eat. You know, we got into all that with the food aversion episode. And my mom, she did a great job catering to it, probably like too good of a job. She used to have to send me to other people's houses to get me to try food because I wouldn't do it for her. But with some fabrics too, like I know I wouldn't wear jeans until I was older. Like I couldn't deal with the fabric. And then as I got a little bit older, but was still masking like into adulthood, and also like I used to get really debilitating migraines from my bra straps being too tight. It took me literally years to figure out the connection, and then I haven't gotten a single migraine. Like I still will get slight migraines, but not the same way. And I'm not the same way with the food aversions now that I'm older, but I do also have more control over it. I'm figuring out the fabrics. I really like polyester and spandex, like 88% polyester and 12% spandex. Very specific, I know.
I was about to say that is very specific. Can you say that one more time? I'm about to write it down.
88% polyester and 12% spandex, or something close to that, like a very, like 90-10, whatever. Anyway, but so now I prioritize comfort over aesthetic. Like I still try to find a balance because I do want to look nice too, but it's definitely a priority to be comfortable. Noise canceling headphones, avoiding the evil big light, and sunglasses to, for when I go out, which also has another purpose because it shields eye contact. So that is fantastic too. I also find bringing fidgets with me all the time, like being able to stim helps me to tolerate other aspects that I can't control. I'm a lot more aware of my sensory issues now, which does make it harder in its own way, but like accommodating it as best as I can makes a huge difference. Because I used to just be irritable all the time. I would snap at people because I was overstimulated and didn't know it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, same here. I used to be just, like you said, irritable, aggravated, all of it,
Hmm.
mood swings, just because I'm uncomfortable, but I was just sitting in my uncomfortability.
Yeah.
Yeah, so
We're
I
trying to
definitely
stuff
get
it
that.
down until you explode.
Yeah, no, for real. No, for real. You know what sucks getting older? Some of my safe foods, I can't eat them no more because they
Yeah, that
upset me.
happens.
Like pizza is my safe food, and I can't even have pizza because my doggone GERD. I'm gonna have
Yep.
heartburn.
I got my gallbladder taken out as emergency surgery because I refused to stop eating pizza, and I'm still out here eating pizza
And you
even
was
though I
like,
shouldn't be.
bye, gallbladder. Over at
Yep.
Tony's, bye. I felt that way
For
too,
real.
girl. But man, I had to stop though because my throat closed on me, inflammation, etc. So I need to chill for real.
Rude.
Yeah, I know. Closing up my throat.
Roast mad dramatic for no reason.
I know. Just just mad dramatic for no girl. Now you know you're not that inflamed.
Right.
Moving right along. I'm weak. Difficulties with self-regulation and executive functioning. Okay, so this one kind of threw me for a little loop. I had to look it up. This one from ADD Vantages. I'm gonna put it in the description. So, executive function. Just for a definition, I'm gonna rattle off some of the traits. So executive functioning, flexible thinking, adjust behavior to unexpected changes, being able to do that. Working memory, keep key information in your mind, etc. Self-monitoring, self-awareness to how one is doing in the moment. Planning and prioritizing, task initiation, organization, impulse control, and emotional control. So that's executive functioning. The what was the other one I said? Self-regulation. I mean, that was already in there in executive. Self-regulation is being able to regulate your own emotions, etc. So having problems with that. So as a child and even now, I will say that the memory thing is an issue for me, but I also have ADHD, so it could be the autism or the ADHD fighting each other. And now I have CRS, so I can't remember shit. You know what I'm saying? So mood swings all throughout my life, childhood and unmasked and now. Okay. I still haven't had control of them. Okay. 1 minute I could be sitting there chilling. Next thing you know, I'm crying, screaming, all of it. Okay. Anything could happen. And then the task initiation thing, I'm still struggling with that. And I do recall struggling with it during childhood as well. Just getting started. Once I'm started, I'm good. It's the getting started that's an issue for me. How I look at these things unmasked. So the short-term memory, the memory loss thing, the short or long term, because I can't remember some of this long-term stuff either. But I just write stuff down, and then a big reason why I started vlogging, because I don't remember stuff. So sometimes I have to document it and journal and etc. And then the mood swings. I don't know. I'm not a professional. I don't know what to do about these mood swings. Okay. I just
Yeah.
go through the motions for the most part, unmasked. When I was masked, I would just be having mood swings and lashing out, and nobody would know what is going on. Now I just go through the motions. I go to myself, first of all. I go and be by myself. And then I desensitize by like closing my curtains. That's why I got the blackout curtains. I close my curtains, I turn off everything. I turn on like the fans. I have several like filter things and like dehumidifiers, things that just make brown noise. So I turn those on.
Mhm.
And then I just go through my motions like that. I've not been able to stop them or lessen them. As far as the task initiation, I just I just adult in the things that I don't want to do. I just do them. I don't know how else to explain it. There's nothing special I do about having these issues with task initiation because it's going to be there. Every time I'm getting ready to start something, I'm going to have anxiety. I'm going to have whatever the case may be. I'm going to get stuck. You know what I'm saying? I'm like,
Mhm.
you know that feeling, you're just like sitting there and like, oh, you remember that you need to do something. So nothing's going on. So you can very likely do it in that moment. But then you just sitting there for like 20, 30 minutes,
Yep.
just like sitting there. So I still get that stuff, and I'm working on it. Okay, I think I just adult. When it's something serious, that's what I do. I prioritize. Maybe when it's something serious, I just go ahead and do it. I just go ahead and do it.
Okay, so for me, when I was masked younger, I would mask all day during school and just, I don't really remember the specifics of it, but I do very vividly remember that I would come home and I would just like unleash on my mom. I would start talking back and just being rude to her and just couldn't control myself because all day long I was holding it together, being very well behaved. Um, so I've always struggled with that kind of stuff. And then as I got older, it got worse and worse. Like I found myself, I would start skipping classes in high school sometimes because I needed more time. I still scored well, luckily, but I needed time to like, recuperate and stuff. I started with the codependent relationships to avoid sitting alone with myself, and I would use other people to try to regulate. And so the codependency was really, really bad. And then like into adulthood, it would get worse and worse. And then I would also, again, the drugs and alcohol to overextend myself to be able to executive function when I couldn't otherwise, diagnosed with borderline personality disorder. So a huge thing with that is, dysregulation, intense mood swings, all of that kind of stuff. So all of those symptoms were very extreme. And then in adulthood, there were things like at home that would be on the back burner, like my house would be a mess because all of my energy was used for, the executive functioning. I needed to be able to go to work. And then unmasked, I find I still have shutdowns when I become dysregulated, still with the mood swings. So again, avoidance of like people in situations that I know will cause me to become dysregulated is a huge issue. The executive functioning, like I've gotten better on things like keeping like my house clean and stuff like that, and I rely on that for stability and my well-being. But I find that I have to stick with a routine. I have to prioritize alone time so that way I can do those things. But like still like task initiation, I'll sit there and I'll put something off for a week that's only going to take 5 minutes to do. And I find like transitioning between tasks is really hard for me too. Like that's maybe harder than task initiation, like because I will be in my task and I'll start thinking about the next thing I have to do, and so then it throws off my focus and I'm having a hard time focusing on what I'm doing because I'm thinking about the next thing I have to do after. So yeah, this category is like still a huge issue for me, and I guess like now I'm a lot more aware of the specific ways that that's the case. So sometimes it feels like I'm more autistic just because I'm aware of it.
All
And
right, we're back and we black. I mean, one of us
well,
black.
I guess I got my black card today.
Welcome black and welcome back. Yeah, we're back. So we left off with self-regulation, executive functioning, and next one, intense interest. So this one threw me for a little loop, okay? Because I could not remember any intense interest. I still can't. But I don't know about intense, but as a child and mass, I did love music and art. I like drawing. I like painting. A lot of stuff. I could only copy things that I could see though. That was kind of irritating to me. I like coloring too, like with color pencils and crayons, whatever, markers.
Mhm.
And then one thing I do remember is when I was able to buy I think it was a CD player. It was really big back in the day. I was super excited because all the kids had it, and finally I had something all the kids had. So I had a CD player, and I remember buying CDs and just listening and rewinding and rewinding and rewinding so much that I broke it, and I was so
Me
upset.
too.
I was so upset, but I couldn't stop. This is my favorite part. I need to listen to it 11
That's a
times
way
in
of
a row.
skimming, and I didn't even realize that's also a
Is it?
restricted and repetitive behavior. So that's like quite
Oh
literally a
my.
very autistic way to listen to music. I just put
Okay,
that
yeah,
together
it
recently.
definitely should be going down here then because I used to make so much fun of Stacy because when he watch movies, that's how he is. We can never finish a whole movie in 2 hours. One 2 hour movie lasts 4 hours for us. because he got
Oh
to
my
keep
God.
rewinding his part. And I used to make so much fun of him. And until I realized that I was doing the very same thing with music. And I actually didn't realize it myself. My daughter told me. And she was like, how many times you gonna rewind that, Mom? I was like, oh, what? I didn't even realize I was
Yeah.
doing it until she yelled it. I was like, what? Oh, my bad. Like, that's my favorite part. But yeah, I do the same thing. And I did it so much when I was a kid to that poor CD player broke it.
Hmm.
As far as when I got a little bit older, like teenage years and stuff like that, most of my interests that seemed to be intense were just mirrored from my siblings. Like my little brother, he liked wrestling, so I got super into that. I also got obsessed over like celebrities like in the 90s. I was heavy on that with my sister. So like we used to cut out pictures and stuff from magazines and like make little collages and stuff like that. But I don't remember anything intensely interested. I don't remember, and I also looked it up. Apparently, a lot of autistic adults say the same thing, that they don't remember having intense interest and they now don't have a special interest. So I have not found any special interest, not specifically, not something I feel like I could do every day. No, I haven't found anything I want to do every day. Not yet. I have a lot of small interests. Like I have hobbies. Like I have the
Hmm.
gardening. I'm not that good at it, but I'm gonna get it right before Armageddon or before the apocalypse. I'm gonna get it right. I'm gonna have vegetables, okay? So you and Mark can come over. You know what I'm saying? We'd be good. I have the gardening. I dog groom randomly. I groom dogs randomly. I think I learned that out of necessity, but I really like doing it. Is my point.
Hmm.
I What else? I still do coloring a lot. I still listen to the music obsessively and rewind obsessively. I still do that. But as far as that special interest, I don't think I have any special interests. I don't think so. I just have a lot of them, and I can't narrow them down because
Yeah.
I don't
And
ever finish them.
yeah, that's relatable. And I'm sure the ADHD overlap as far as this too. Like people
Girl,
say that because,
yes,
you get bored of things. So not everyone has a
absolutely.
special interest. For me, as a kid, I didn't really have like super intense interests really that I know of. Like like you, I liked coloring. I was very much into the music, and once I got the CD player, I would do the same thing with the rewinding. I I started daydreaming, which I think like that was kind of an interest because I would go into my own world and escape there. And then as I became a teenager, I would become like very what looked like just being boy crazy, but I would fixate on my boyfriends as kind of a special interest. And I also would use, like, because I got social media when I was in middle school, that's when MySpace came out. I would use social media to mask. And I also kind of like, I feel like I fixated on other people as an intense interest because now I had access to like people's lives without having to interact with them. So I could study them. And, I would use that to try to figure out who to be. And so I spent a lot of time at home on the computer when I wasn't with a boyfriend. I would be at home on the computer, stalking people on social media, trying to figure out who to be. And I think that was kind of an intense interest. I just didn't realize it. And then as an adult, like up until a few years ago, like I felt like I didn't really have any interests because I just was so codependent. I would be into whatever who I was dating was, but now I have really leaned into the special interest. So I have the cats and I have the hooping, and then also talking about autism is definitely a special interest. And I find that I find it really hard to connect with people outside of these topics. And so it's another thing I love social media for because it gives me like an appropriate outlet to like engage in these things and to connect with people who want to talk about these things. Because otherwise in real life, like I don't be knowing what to say. And I end up just
Mm-hmm.
circling back to these same topics when nobody cares. And I info dump when nobody cares. And then I'm like, oh, that was weird.
Yeah, that does get very awkward. People are talking about something serious. I'm like, bananas. They're like, what? I'm like, number 5 is repetitive behaviors. And I think that's the music thing, ain't it? That's
Hmm.
the music thing. But another thing, one thing that I put something that was very serious for me as repetitive behaviors is something that I still am contriving. My repetitive behaviors are internal. Like I just have, so I forgot what it's called, but a thing gets stuck in my head and it's just there forever, for like, I don't know, hours, like anything gets stuck in my head, any thought that I can think. It gets stuck in my head and I
Yeah.
just think about it repeatedly for hours. And sometimes that make me get stuck, like I can't do anything else until I'm done
Hmm.
thinking about it. Or like if somebody's trying to have a conversation with me and that loop is playing, it's actually called looping. Preservative thoughts. Preservative pretty much means when a person have repetitive thoughts and dwells on negatives. It could be negative, traumatic, it could be whatever. For me, it's not always negative, but it's just that's very much something, and it's internal for me. So that's, I feel like that's a repetitive behavior, and it's something that it does stop me from doing stuff sometimes. It does
Hmm.
indeed. I'm still working on it. Unmask. And as a child, I think I need to put that music thing into repetitive behaviors because that's what that is.
So when I was younger, I would end up suppressing most of my stims, and so I would do like socially acceptable ones. Like I would, so a lot of nail biting and hair twirling, and I would doodle on my paper a lot in class, like always drawing like hearts and circles and practicing my signature and like writing my name like with the last name of whatever guy I like. That's so cringy. And then like but the repetitive behaviors, like I needed to be able to do it, so in between like classes and stuff as I got a little older, I would have to like pace in the hallways. Pacing is a huge one of my repetitive behaviors too, and I usually will pace like a certain, like around a certain lap, like I'll come up with an area that I'm going to pace and then I just do several laps around that, and then I'd be in the hallways in school like with my iPod and like just doing what you do, rewinding that same part of my song over and over and moving on to the next one. And then also I would use daydreaming, like I would repeat the same scenarios in my head, like as a way to escape real life. And then as I got older, now unmasked, um, I do all the repetitive behaviors a lot more openly. So I'm always rocking. I do a lot of like vocal stems. I hum a lot, like constantly. I find myself like when I'm texting someone, I have to like in between the messages put my phone down and slap my hands while I pace back and forth. And that helps me process. And I think that actually like circles back around and affects social and communication because that really affects things like in real life. Like I find I do a lot better online because it eliminates the need to mask that. Because even with like safe and comfortable people, I understand it becomes like weird and distracting if I'm gonna get up and keep pacing back and forth and doing like weird and crazy in your face type of stuff. So like that's overwhelming for the other person. So like that definitely affects my communication with people. A lot of repetitive behaviors. And like the more time I spend alone unmasking, the more I realize all of the stuff that I do and like how important it is for my well-being. But the music is a huge one. Like I realized when I was like in high school that it was weird because someone pointed out that I was listening to the same song every single time. They looked at my iPod, they're like, why are you always listening to the same song? That's weird. And I was like, what do you mean that's weird?
Mind your business. No, it's not.
People talk about listening to like full albums and stuff, and like I hardly
Full
even finish
album.
a full song. Sometimes I do, but I have my like, and then I realized more recently, like, just how much of an autistic way of listening to music it is. It's very much restrictive and repetitive behaviors. I want my songs, my specific songs, my same songs. I'm gonna listen to the same 15 to 30 seconds over and over
Mm-hmm.
and over, and then I'm gonna move on to the next song and do the same thing. That's what I do.
But best believe we know that one part real bad. That one part, we
Yeah.
know it word for word.
Yup.
Word for word. Yes. Me too, girl. Me too, girl. Sometimes I don't recall any albums that I've listened to all the way through. Not since the Lauryn Hill days, but I think everybody listened to that Miseducation of Lauryn Hill. That whole thing is about, I'm sorry. The whole thing is a
I'll have to
bop.
check it out.
You looking confused? Oh my god! Give me your black card now,
I know
because
Lauryn Hill. I'm just saying I haven't listened to like the whole album because I don't do that with any albums.
oh yeah, the Miseducation of Lauryn Hill is one of those you can actually listen to all the way through, and also it feels like a story because they connect the end of the song connects to the next song, if you know what I
Right.
mean. So it's
Yeah,
like the
yeah.
whole
Some do
album
that.
like a story, but it's all good songs in there. I'm sure you probably heard all of them and you don't even know they on that album.
Probably.
But yeah, I usually don't listen to whole albums. I just listen to the one song that I like at the one part that I like, and then I go to the next one
Hmm.
like you. All right,
Yeah.
last one. I ain't gonna get too much into it. You choose to if you want. Last one is the co-occurring conditions. So I didn't have any diagnosis of anything as a child. I didn't get diagnosed with any mental health diagnosis. None of it. I didn't get tested. The only thing I got tested for was when they started that SOL stuff. It wasn't really SOL in school. The testing that they did in school, I did bad. So and then I had to go to the class with the they called it the remedial class back then.
Hmm.
So but you know what I mean, the class for the kids that are struggling. So I did have to go to that for like a year or two, and they pretty much taught me how to be like the other kids. So that's probably why I started mirroring people, because the
Yeah.
teacher was literally like, look at the way you're writing your L's. Look at Johnny's L's. Do his L's look like that? I'll be like, no. Now I'm copying everything Johnny doing.
Oh
But
my God.
anyways, I was in that class. I didn't get diagnosed with ADHD until I was an adult. But I did get diagnosed with ADHD, depression, anxiety, social anxiety, and PTSD all at once, all in that one long panel that they did, with the autism as well. But
Yeah.
because I don't fully understand them myself, so I'm not even gonna get all the way into it. The co-occurring conditions, I'm still
Right.
trying to grasp.
Yeah.
Gotcha.
So when I was a kid, elementary school, diagnosed with ADHD, and then a young adult, the other diagnoses started pouring in anxiety, social anxiety, depression, borderline personality disorder, and then the autism came, and then also I like other like chronic illness stuff. Like there's always been weird stuff going along with my body. Like it's stuff that some of it's like not even officially diagnosed with anything, but just like recurring issues that have gone on with my health.
Oh yeah, like the physical issues going on. I
Yeah.
didn't even think about that going along with it, because we did talk about that in another episode, that a lot of
Hmm.
even autistic adults, kids, all females, males, all have those kind of health issues just simply because of the way they've been living. Like they develop stomach problems and all
Hmm.
that stuff, like you said.
Yeah. Oh, I forgot to write down PMDD. That's premenstrual dysphoric disorder. So it's like during PMS, like it's a very extreme version of it. And then all of my neurodivergent traits get like amplified and I feel like I'm losing my mind. And I'm still planning to see a professional about what I suspect is OCD, which I know does frequently overlap with autism as well. So there's just like a whole long list that seems to come up with autism all the time for people.
Yeah, no, no, for real. No, for real. It does. It does. I also have OCD. I didn't add that in there, but that's just something I've been living with for my almost entire life. So I just figured it was something just because my mom too. We obsessively clean and we just live like that. And I don't see nothing wrong with obsessively cleaning, okay? I don't see nothing wrong with unlocking and locking the door 3 times to make sure it's locked. Who said there's something wrong with it? Okay.
I didn't notice that like a lot of those kind of traits for myself because a lot of it's more of like mental compulsions, like ruminating and like playing over the same situation over and over and over again and analyzing it and just like, the intrusive thoughts, but all of it, it's
Mhm.
very internalized. So
Yeah.
I always thought OCD was just cleaning, stuff like that. I didn't realize that compulsions, like mental compulsions, were
Mhm.
part of it too. So that's something I'm definitely planning to talk to a professional about because it definitely affects my life. like
Mm-hmm.
all of that
It
crazy stuff that's been going on.
absolutely it does. And I don't know the statistics, but a lot of people with autism also, experience OCD in some form. Stacey has
Hmm.
OCD, but his is more catered to how things are supposed to be placed. So
Ah,
it don't necessarily have to be super clean for him, but if it's supposed to be over here on the right, then it's supposed to be over here on the right. And if it's not
yeah.
over there on the right, then that's when his anxiety comes in and he has to fix it. So
Or when he checks
that's
his sensory room.
girl. I can't move nothing in there. And it has his memory so good. I'm so jealous. Because I will go in there like I used to go while he was at school and stuff and just like clean up a little bit, try to put everything exactly the way. But one small thing is turned 2 degrees to the left. And he's freaking out. And I'm like, how? How you even notice that? You've been gone all day, but he knows exactly where all his stuff is supposed to be. I know it don't make sense, but like at night when I go do my rounds, I go check all the locks on the windows, the doors, everything, and then I put my alarm. But just one time, don't do it. One time is not enough because then I go upstairs and I'm like, did I do it? I don't know. And then I have to do it
Yeah.
that number of times. And when I do it that number of times, then I'm like, okay, it's done. So that's
Oh,
how mine is.
a weird thing that I'll like recheck over and over again is like in like text conversations with people. For some reason in my head, I get this idea like, what if I accidentally sent something crazy to somebody? So I'll like go back and check and make sure I didn't say nothing weird.
So yeah, those are the traits. Those are the traits. And as you guys can see, some of the stuff was different between us because autism is a spectrum. So, and the reason why I wanted to go over this is because a lot of people sometimes resonate with some of the things that myself and my friend Lex talk about, but then it's not the same. So then you're like, oh, well, you get discouraged. So
Mhm.
you can't think of it like that. You might have a similar experience, but ultimately it's going to be different for the most part because you're a different person than that person. You're different than me. You're different than Lex. Okay. So,
Yeah.
it can present in many different ways. And like the intense interest thing, that room really threw me for a loop because I was like, how come I don't have any special interests? If I'm,
Hmm.
if the doctor said I'm autistic, how come? Yeah, hey, it might not happen. You might
Yeah.
not. Okay. You might not. You may not. Okay. But the important thing is if you feel that you resonate with majority of this stuff and autism diagnosis is something that explains a lot of things in your life, then you should definitely go ahead and get tested. Now, I'm not going to say the testing is easy, but it's not gonna, it's not hard. Okay, it's not gonna be something that you will regret because whether it's yes or no, at least now you know. Now knowing is
Yeah.
half the battle. Oh my
I
god.
love that we figured out that we both do the same thing with the music. That made me so happy.
And that is it. And that is all, y'all. And I'm hot. We about to get
That's
up out of here.
all.
Okay. I appreciate y'all for
Yeah.
coming. Another episode. And thank you for continuously watching. Lex, do you want to tell them about your social medias? Where can the people find you?
On Instagram underscore lucid circles underscore.
Oh my gosh, you guys stay cool. Stay in the house, okay? And if your AC broke in the house, I don't know. I don't know, okay? If you like me and you just sweat, look, get you a white washcloth or paper
Yeah.
towel and wet it and just dab, 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 okay? Thank you for watching. Thanks for coming, Lex. I appreciate you.
Thanks
See
for
you guys
having me.
later. Bye.
Bye.